Hi, my name is Krista. I work with people who have Meniere's disease, but also a lot of fear. And one of the things that we talk about in the sessions is how to get the fear out on the table, because fear is like a boogeyman. You know, you're walking down the street, all of a sudden, it feels like something reaches up and just grabs you. You just want to double over. It's just painful. And so part of what we do is we get it out on the table, we take a look at it, we look at what causes it, how it makes us feel, almost like it's a different person, because fear is not, it's not us. It's not who we are. And it helps to get it out on the table, take a look at it, get some distance by it or from it. And so I wanted to do a quick video for you today about the voice of fear, what fear sounds like, and then what voice of reason sounds like. Now, the voice of reason a lot of times can conquer the voice of fear, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. Before I do, remember that you can always jump on a strategy call with me. We can talk about what you're dealing with, where you want to be in 3 to 6 months. If you want that, just type strategy call in the comments or shoot me a message and I'll reach out to you. But because fear feels so bad, you may not realize that it also has a voice. It is, if fear was a person, if you were to actually name fear, is put a name to it, and listen to the kinds of things that it tells you, you would find out right away that it has a voice. And there are certain things that fear will always tell you or try to make you believe, and certain things that it will never tell you. For instance, fear will never say, Krista, I hope you have a really good day today. Go knock them out. You can do this. Fear will never do that. Fear is always based on worst case scenario. Fear is always going to say, what are you leaving your house for? You're never going to be able to be as good as you were 5 years ago. How come you can't do this? Why aren't you good enough for that? Um, Fear's voice is what tells you when you think about starting something new. I'm getting over a cold. When you think of starting something new, fear is the voice that's going to say, you know what? You probably shouldn't tell anybody that you're going to do this because you're probably not going to make it anyway. Or, there was that last thing that you did that you weren't any good at. Why do you think you're going to be better at this one? Fear has a voice, and it's always worst case scenario. So what happens is that it tells you something scary is going to happen, and then you feel it because it feels so real. But there's another voice that you have, but it may not seem as accessible to you, and it's your voice of reason. You always have a voice of reason, and it's your logic. It's the one that you use if a friend of yours comes to you and says, I am starting out on a new job, I'm not sure what to do. Your voice of reason is going to reach out to them and say, you know what? You can do this, because don't you remember when you did this other thing and it worked well for you? And don't you remember that you have this special skill or this specific thing that you know how to do? That's your voice of reason. So what happens is that when we go into fear, um, our capability to locate anything outside of that fear, it goes away. It's almost like um, everything compresses really tight, and we can't see into the future. We can't see every things that are around us, um, and that's fear. And so to get out of that fear, what you do is you start looking at things outside of it, almost like if fear was in the middle of the room, what are the other things in the room? Um, you can say, well, there's the couch over there, there's the chair in the corner, there's the kitchen, there's the door to the patio. And what happens is that when you start to enlarge your perspective, then it counteracts that constrictive, straining tightness that fear creates. and it starts to loosen it up some so that you can see and you can access your voice of reason. As you go through your day, as that little voice on your shoulder says, be careful, don't fall down the stairs. Hold on to the rail. Don't go out very much. Make sure you stay inside. As you bump into those kinds of conversations in your head, what you do is you use your voice of reason, which is the opposite, which is the one that says, all right, fear, I hear what you're trying to tell me, but don't you remember that there's this other truth? What's the opposite truth of the fear? The work in getting over fear is continuing to realize that fear is a tiny little hole, and there are many, many things outside of that hole. And the practice of getting over fear is reminding yourself that that outer space is always there. And once you get to really understand that, then fear doesn't have a hold of you anymore. You may feel it, but there's distance between you and that fear. It's every time that you look outside of that tight little ball of fear, whether it's through noticing other truths around the fear. If you have to go out to a dinner with your family, you're having social anxiety, but you got to get through the dinner. One of the ways you get through that is the onset of that constriction. You just start to locate other things in the room. There's the cat, there's the lamp, there's the, sofa or whatever. And you start to bring out your perspective, and then you start thinking of other truths outside of that fear. There's that one person that's at that dinner that I haven't talked to for a while that was pretty fun. And then you kind of start to use your logic, your inner voice to coax yourself, create an image of what that dinner is going to look like in your favor. I'm going to walk in the door. I'm going to sit down to the person that I like the most. We're going to have a conversation. I'm going to ask them about a couple of things. Next thing I know, it's going to be time to go. And I will have been a star. So what I like to do is talk about fear so that it's not some hidden boogeyman. You see people online and they say, oh my God, I have this anxiety and these bad things happened. And then you'll see everybody comment and they'll say, I'm so sorry you felt that fear. People talk of fear as if it's a boogeyman, but we don't talk enough about it to understand that it is an entity that's not exactly real. What is it? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do you know that you feel fear? How do you start to loosen that tightness up and be able to see other possibilities and scenarios outside of that current experience? So that is what we do. If that's something that you're interested in, put Strategy Call in the comments or send me a message. Remember today that you are not your fear. You're not the things that are scary. There's this whole world underneath that fear that you are real, that you really are, that you get to express. Go express that side of you, and remember that even if it seems too difficult to get past through fear, know that you can, and know that that first step in doing that is by just opening up your perspective a little bit, almost like opening up your peripheral vision. Start naming objects in the room, and then start looking at your voice of reason. What's the opposite of this? What's the logic you can have to prove the thing wrong? And start rebuilding some of those experiences. I'm Krista. I'll see you on the next round.